I was warned not to describe what I saw. They said it would cause panic. They said the footage disproves me. But if I'm wrong, why did everyone who saw it stop talking? I'm trapped right now, writing this from a plastic chair in the hospital. The air smells like bleach and everything feels cold and wrong. My parents, Victor and Sophia, they're shut off in a room down the hall. In a deep coma the doctors call unexplained. But I know the truth. I watched it happen. And the worst horror? I think I could have stopped this monster the second it walked into our lives. Up until last week, my life was boring. I'm Caleb, 18, and I just finished the soul-crushing marathon of final exams. I crashed out for almost a full day. I woke up feeling totally free. I went downstairs expecting my mom, Sophia, to be making coffee. But they were not alone. Sitting right in my chair at the kitchen table was a man I'd never seen. He was maybe mid-30s with long black hair and skin so pale it looked painted. But his eyes, they hit you like a punch. A brilliant, sick, jaundiced yellow, like a vulture's eye, and they were just locked onto his cereal bowl. My parents looked up and gave me these smiles, not their smiles. These were frozen, brittle, and way too wide. Caleb, you finally woke up. Say hello to your distant cousin, Elias. My mom chirped, her voice squeaky and completely fake. I was stunned. A cousin? What are you talking about? You two don't have any family here. The fake smiles flickered, a brief flash of panic, before snapping back into place. They rushed to explain it was a long-lost relative from Dad's side. But it was a total, terrifying lie. The meal that morning was pure fear. Elias never spoke, never looked up. He ate with the slow, deliberate precision of a shark. Meanwhile, my parents never stopped talking, aiming this frantic, fake cheerfulness at him, laughing at jokes he never told. It was like they were reading from a script, terrified to break the silence. The commandment. I tried to get the truth. I cornered my dad, Victor, later that day. Dad, seriously, who is that guy? Victor's face went cold. The forced cheerfulness vanished, replaced by a stern, hard mask. His name is not your concern, Dad hissed, his voice flat. He is our guest. You will treat him with respect. End of discussion. It was a command. Suddenly, we were the tenants, and this silent monster was in charge. The house quickly felt less like home and more like a temple dedicated to this silent, creepy stranger. The power shifted fast. At dinner, Elias always got his food first. We all had to wait until his plate was completely clean before we were allowed to eat our own cold food. Then, we were forbidden from talking to him directly. The worst part was the locked spare room. They cleared it out for him, and every night, my parents would go in there with Elias. They would lock the door from the inside and wouldn't come out until after dark. Couldn't stand it. The mystery was eating me alive. I had to know what was happening in there. Last night, I waited until they were all inside. I crept up the stairs, my heart pounding like a drum, and put my eye to the cold brass keyhole. Inside, the room was dark, lit only by dozens of flickering candles. The air seemed to shimmer. Elias was standing bolt upright, arms stretched to the ceiling like a terrible statue. And my parents, my loving, normal parents, they were on the floor, prostrated, trembling, and bowing to him. They weren't speaking English. They were whispering a low, frantic stream of gibberish. They weren't hosting a cousin. They were worshipping a monster. I scrambled back and ran, screaming, to my room to call the police. I whispered the address, telling the operator I was scared and my parents were in danger. The monster smiles. Just as I hung up, a soft, polite tap came at my bedroom door. I froze. I knew who it was. I slowly, shakily opened the door. Elias was standing there, and for the very first time he was looking directly at me, and he was smiling. It was a wide, thin-lipped, sick grin, a flash of pure, triumphant malice. I screamed every ounce of fear and rage I had. "Who are you? Get out. The police are coming for you." He didn't say a word. He just held the smile, turned slowly, walked downstairs, opened the front door, and vanished into the quiet suburban street. I ran back upstairs, found my parents unconscious on the floor of the spare room, and the police arrived in a blur of flashing lights. I told them everything, but when the officer checked our home security footage, my mind broke. The officer turned the laptop to me. The screen showed me screaming hysterically at an empty doorway. "There's no one there, son," the officer said gently. "The cameras didn't pick up anyone entering or leaving the house all night, except for you." I was staring at the screen, refusing to believe it, when I heard his partner taking a call in the other room. His voice was low and urgent. "Yeah, another one, same as the others. The parents are catatonic. The kid is talking about a tall guy with yellow eyes. It's the 5th one this year. Elias wasn't a delusion. He was a creature that eats families and leaves no evidence. He drained my parents and then he walked away to find the next target. I was the only one who saw the monster, and I waited until it was too late. I let that yellow-eyed thing go. Now my parents are gone, and I'm sitting here, knowing I doomed them, and that monster is still out there, ready for family number 6. Started again last night. 3 soft knocks at the door, just after 2 a.m., the exact same as it's been for the past 4 nights. I know I shouldn't open it. I know what I saw, but when you hear 2 distinct, ragged voices whispering your name in the dark, when you see their shadowy outlines pressed against the frosted glass, it's hard to pretend you're not just a little bit hopeful that it's all been some horrible mistake. The night watchman and the security guard died 5 years ago. I was working late in the office across the street when it happened, a smash and grab at the Etheria Trust Bank. I had a clear view of the loading dock. I saw the struggle, the brief flash of muzzle fire, and the 2 heavy figures fall. It was over in 30 seconds. I had my phone in my hand. I could have called 911 while it was happening. I could have saved them, but I didn't. I stood frozen in my window and watched the car screech away. I told myself I'd call after they left, that I was too scared to move, but I heard the knocking even then, faint and desperate just like now. I think it came from inside my own head. The police found the old night watchman's body next to the broken door. The young security guard was dragged away, left bleeding in the stairwell. There were only 2 pieces of evidence they never understood. A small puddle of blood on the sidewalk that led nowhere, and the tiny silver lapel pin the guard always wore, found jammed deep into the frame of the lockbox. The cops thought the pin was left by the robbers. But robbers don't knock. Last night, I finally opened the door. There was no one there, but the knocking didn't stop. It was coming from the walls now, and it's not just knocking anymore. They're talking. I can hear them behind the drywall, their whispers rattling the plaster, scraping their heavy work boots along the joists inside. They're moving, room to room, closer. They keep asking why I didn't help them, why I watched, why I did nothing. I tried to tell them I was paralyzed by fear, that I didn't know what to do. They didn't like that answer. I don't think they're going to leave this time. My lights are flickering. The air smells like wet earth and cheap cologne, and I can see rusty boot prints forming on the wall beside me. They're inside the house now, and they're not alone. I didn't sleep. After the boot prints appeared, I locked myself in the bathroom and turned the lights off. I don't know why, like hiding would help. I sat in the bathtub with a knife I found in the drawer. Like that would make a difference. They didn't try to break in. They didn't have to. Around 3:15 a.m., the whispering started again. Not just the victims this time. Another voice joined them, deeper, slower, like it was learning how to speak. The night watchman and the guard sounded afraid of it. I heard one of them say, "He's awake again." Then silence. And then the scraping started. Not at the walls this time, from inside the mirror. I swear I'm not crazy. I watched as a small crack formed in the center of the glass, spiderwebbing outward like pressure was building behind it. Something moved on the other side, just beneath the surface. I turned away, and when I looked back, the mirror was normal again. But my reflection wasn't. It blinked when I didn't. I left the bathroom when the sun came up. I thought maybe daylight would push them back, like they were tied to the night somehow. But now things are different. It's not just the walls. It's the photos too. Every picture in my house with people in it. Friends, family, even old school photos. All of their eyes are gone, scratched out. But there's something worse. The night watchman and the security guard are in them now, standing in the background, watching. One of the guards is behind me in the picture on my fridge, smiling. I'm in the photo too. I don't remember taking it. I don't remember ever smiling like that. I left the house around noon and drove until my gas light came on. Parked in some diner lot an hour out of town. I've been sitting here for hours. I don't know where to go, but they do. There's a note under my windshield wiper, written in a thick, shaky hand, like an old man writing in the dark. "Why did you leave the door open?" I didn't. I swear I closed it. No, I locked it. I know I did. I'm going home now. I have to. I think whatever was with them got out. I think it's wearing me, pretending to be me. And if that's true, then who's been driving my car for the last 10 minutes? We had been living together for 2 years, my best friend Aaron and I, navigating the predictable irritations of shared space. The endless battle over dishes, the mysteriously slow Wi-Fi, but our life together felt reliably normal until the moment I found him and reality shattered. I never intended to look inside his room. I simply noticed the door was cracked open as I walked by, and that slight, accidental glance trapped me forever in the image of his corpse. Aaron was sprawled across the mattress, one leg twisted beneath him at an impossible angle while his other arm dangled lifelessly over the side. But it was the color of his skin, a shocking mottled gray, and the glassy, half-open emptiness in his eyes that confirmed the chilling truth. He had been dead for a significant, horrible amount of time. The air in the small room was thick with a stench that hit me instantly, a suffocating, rotten odor of decay and meat left out too long. forcing me to slap a hand over my mouth to keep from vomiting right there. My brain stalled completely, trying to reconcile the simple fact Aaron is a corpse with the sheer, overwhelming impossibility of the sight, when suddenly a small mechanical vibration jolted me out of my horrified trance. My phone, buzzing in my pocket, felt like a miniature electric shock, and my hands trembled violently as I managed to pull it out, revealing a new text message. It was from Aaron. The message was casual, mundane, and utterly impossible. "Hey man, can you grab some eggs on your way home?" I stared at the screen, the glowing white text contrasting sharply with the bloated, gray body still occupying the bed just a few feet away, knowing definitively that the thing lying there was dead, unmoving, and starting to putrefy. Another message arrived immediately, pushing the rising panic in my chest. "Dude, you good?" A wave of intense nausea twisted my stomach, and the slamming pulse in my skull demanded that I reject this monstrous reality. But I forced my legs to obey, stumbling backward out of the doorway. I slammed the door shut, trapping the horror and the stench behind the thin wood, sucking in ragged, gasping breaths in the hallway, clinging desperately to the delusion that this must not be real, even though the pervasive, sickening smell had already begun to soak into my clothes and skin. A final, insistent notification buzzed from behind the closed door. "You're acting weird. Just answer me, man." I didn't answer. I simply turned and ran from the hall. That entire night was a blur of sweating paranoia, where every time I managed to close my eyes, I was instantly confronted with the image of his stiff, twisted form and those vacant, half-lidded eyes staring at absolutely nothing. The digital torment refused to stop, as my phone continued to light up with one impossible, nagging question after another. "Why are you ignoring me? Come on, man, this isn't funny. If you're mad, just say it." Finally overwhelmed, I frantically switched the phone off, desperate for silence. Yet even with the power killed, I could still hear the faint, phantom sound of a notification pinging. The chilling certainty that the messages were still arriving in the silent darkness. Around 3 in the morning, the digital terror escalated into something physical when I heard a slow, heavy creak, a deliberate shift of weight, coming from behind the sealed door of Aaron's room. I lay frozen beneath my sheets, lungs locked tight, repeating the sanity-saving mantra. "He's dead. He's a corpse. He cannot move." The creaking came again, closer this time, moving toward the door that separated us, followed by a soft, insistent tap, tap, tap against the drywall immediately next to my head. I did not sleep again that night. When the morning finally arrived, I was a wreck, shaking uncontrollably as I brewed coffee in an apartment that now reeked of rot, resolving that the only action left was to call the authorities and report the presence of the rotting body in the next room. But before I could dial the number, a sound stopped my heart cold. The unmistakable rush of the shower running in the shared bathroom. I crept toward the corner, terrified that any quick movement might fracture the delicate lie of reality I was clinging to, and saw the steam curling out from beneath the locked bathroom door. Then, the final, undeniable proof of my nightmare. I heard a low, cheerful humming coming from inside. "Aaron," I managed to croak out, my voice thin and entirely inadequate. The humming instantly ceased, leaving a long, unbearable moment of silence broken only by the sound of running water. Then, my pocket buzzed with the ghost of a text message, followed immediately by the text itself. "Aaron, yeah." The word was so casual, so familiar, yet so utterly wrong that I abandoned all thought, bolting toward the front door without another second of hesitation. I was halfway out the door when the final message arrived, searing itself into my memory before I even looked down. "Aaron, where are you going?" I didn't answer. I just ran. I drove for hours until I reached a cheap motel in a neighboring town, locking the door and stacking a chair against the knob, convinced that 4 walls and deadbolts could somehow keep the impossible out. At 2:47 a.m., the inevitable buzzing returned, forcing me, through a wave of primal dread, to check the screen. "Aaron, you can't ignore me forever." My fingers shook so hard I could barely swallow. And then, a second message arrived, this one accompanied by an image attachment that demanded I look. Against all reason, I opened it. The picture was dark, grainy, and instantly recognizable. It was a photograph of my exact motel room, taken from the blackness just outside the window. My heart seized as I spun around and ripped the curtains open, finding nothing but the empty, concrete expanse of the parking lot. And then the sound arrived, a soft, distinct knock at the door. I stopped breathing entirely. Another knock, slightly harder. Then the final authoritative text. "Aaron, open the door, man." Utter, screaming panic flooded my mind. This was beyond any rational nightmare, and I stumbled backward, pressing myself against the farthest wall as I heard a sickening, wet sound. A heavy breathing, coming from the other side of the door. The knocking returned, louder, more insistent. "Aaron, I know you're in there." And then the knob began to slowly, deliberately turn. I never found out what happened next, and I don't know if I survived, but if you ever read this warning, if you ever find a corpse that texts you, for the love of everything, do not open the door.